Welcome, everybody. We are now on day 6 of our 30-day challenge in order to grow our energetic field, to grow our light. How's everybody doing? Welcome, Edinez. Welcome, RR2. So good to see you here again. So today, Summer's Wind, how are you? So good to see you, beautiful soul. It's a really great honor to share this time with you, and I'm really, really happy that many of you have signed up to do this. I mean, we've had about 500 people each time join us to do these meditations and these works, and I've had so many outpouring of just questions and support to continue doing this. So I felt very inspired to continue. And I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for joining, doing the work, more importantly, for your light and your willingness to do this kind of work, which I know sometimes can be very challenging. But the fact that your light is, you're aware that you're capable of transcending these moments and your soul is ready to move through. This is really what is the most exciting and wonderful, and just brings a lot of love into our community that we have here. So I want to kind of go over a couple things that we're going to go over in the next couple weeks. The things next couple days and the challenge, what we're going to do. Kind of a quick little outline of some of the things that we're going to address. When we're talking about what light is, what do we mean when we mean more light? And we're going to talk about that today. We're looking at opening our eyes to the truth that we are as we are in its whole totality, without fear, without resistance of seeing what is there. And that's usually the biggest limiting block that we have in our process, because the ego wants to create a really beautiful filter that makes sometimes our blockages seem like they're okay or normal or something that is a part of us. And as much as they are a part of us, in order to begin to change our frequency, we have to address and see where our energy is more limited in those beliefs. And as we mentioned yesterday, broaden our perspective in those areas so that we can begin to hold more light. If we are holding heaviness and fear and limiting beliefs, we hold less light. And this also means that our holographic structure is dimmed. It's restricted by that because you are operating in a thought form that is limiting your ability to transcend and see beyond that. So you're always going to have these anchors that anchor you in these limiting beliefs, and that limits your ability to expand your light. In other words, to see greater truths beyond just yourself. So this is what we really want to focus on. We want to be able to work on all of these parts that are kind of affecting our ability to grow light. And in addition to that, aside from the light part, it's the blockages. When we work these limiting beliefs which manifest as blockages, we want to work on releasing those blockages, moving them out, changing the way that we're seeing. So that's something that we're going to be addressing, is how to work deeper in blockages. We're also going to be looking at the integration of fragments, and these are fragments. Some of you that have been following me for a long time are very familiar with the process of doing fragment integration with this current lifetime. But we're going to be taking a look at other lifetimes, other linear, non-linear, simultaneous aspects of ourselves that are living out repetitive patterns. Because those are actually very important, especially for us that are quite multidimensional at this point, that we're very aware of what's happening. And oftentimes we feel that some of those experiences begin to bleed into our life. We can't necessarily find the origin of our emotions or feelings or blockages in our current day events, but we know that it's being influenced by something in our general sphere, and that's our holographic system providing information of other aspects of ourselves that are navigating those specific areas of information. So the integration of those fragments are super important. When we do the integration of the fragments, what we discover a lot of times is that we're kind of navigating a territory that hasn't been gone through before for us, okay, in this lifetime in this body with the stories and everything that you are. And that's the process of deprogramming. That when you begin to deprogram the programs that you have either taken on that are not belonging to you, things that we have inherited through our ancestral lineage, or things that we are indoctrinated at an early age by society and all of these other systems that are creating ideas and thought forms of how to be, how to behave, how to act and feel, and what we are that define us. We believe that they're defining us. We begin to notice that really we're discovering a completely new being. You are something completely foreign, and so you have to recreate. You become kind of this pioneer in yourself. And that redefinition oftentimes feels very displacing because we have no reference point. We have no one that can show us what love is on that level through your understanding. Nobody that can show us joy or how to embody that. And we are brought together in these groups in which specifically we resonate based on our belief systems. So that's why it becomes it feels lonely. It feels separate from all. But what you'll find is what unites us together, specifically at this time, is this specific work that we're doing in discovering, in being pioneers, in identifying this organism as not something identified with the matrix and the programming. You are completely something incredibly expansive, this giant consciousness, infinite consciousness, and creator, in other words. So it's really important that you understand that you are a pioneer in learning how to love, in feeling joy, in creating all of these tools, which we have it encoded in our genetic code. It's in the holographic code. It's in the Akash. None of these things are new, but we are waking up from the hypnosis of life, the hypnosis of suffering, the hypnosis of separation. And so in that process, we need to re-educate ourselves. We need to remind ourselves what it means. And usually, as children, when we're wide open and very conscious, all of our energy centers are flowing and moving, and we're not operating necessarily from a fear, we are more intuitive and in that flow. So we want to return back to that childlike wonder and navigating the world in a place not being in fear or blocked by those limiting beliefs. And that's actually when we start to see real magic happen. That's when we start to have this incredible manifestation. You start to find the people in your tribe. You start to attract the clients that you need, and you start moving out of that suffering, cyclical, karmic pattern into the God creator pattern of life. Okay, so that's where that magic happens. And so all of these are important elements of growing your light. We're also going to be looking at releasing heavy emotions, right? And so with these really heavy energies, these celestial energies that we've been tapping into recently, emotions are going to be one of the hardest things, because that's actually one of the things that is most weaponized against us by the unconscious mind, by that hypnosis, that when we are unaware of the body, that lack of awareness makes it very easy to trigger pain points in the body. And so we end up being kind of like popcorn, popping from one end to another in constant suffering, survival, or we're coming from this great high of joy down to this really low suffering. And so these kinds of crazy ranges of emotions are oftentimes causing a lot of drainage of life force. So we want to teach ourselves how to come into that really powerful neutrality where we're aware of all these things. Now, in addition to that and following that would be our ability to activate our intuition, right? Because what happens when we grow our light, when we embody and activate the multidimensional body, when we are connected directly to source and embody that connection, we are by design incredibly connected to the whole. We are connected to the Akash, we are aware of ourselves as an organism and the role that we play in the collective. And that level of intuition helps us navigate in a way that is more holistic. It is aware of itself and others and why we are doing the things we're doing. So it's definitely a different way of living. It's more mindful in that flow, as they speak, or an intuitive way of living. Nextly, we're taking a look at, the energy concept of growing the field, right? So we learned how to activate the intuition, but now navigating your everyday life, what energetic things do we need to do to help ourselves? And training ourselves, just like all the great masters trained in yoga to learn how to move energy in the body and how to work and become healthy in the body, we need to become yogis of energy, masters of our energy. And we need to learn how to move energy through the physical body with our mind, and also using our intention. And that is actually where we're entering into the higher levels of manifestation and creation. So it's important that we understand energetic hygiene, that we understand protection or awareness, that we understand embodiment of the higher self, and then when we are interacting with other beings, how to hold all of that space in those interactions. And that is really the part that a lot of people get really, especially empathic people, they lose themselves in the emotions and the sensations and the physical aspect of becoming an empath, instead of raising that vibration into the more intuitive, telepathic, higher vibration where they're not so much in the feeling body. The feeling body allows us to have information, but if we're too much savoring the emotions, we completely get stuck in that and forget to get the information that's necessary in order to move through those things. So that's really, really important. Now, the next thing would be to learn how to embody bliss, learn how to embody unconditional love. And this is really the key point. So once we've done all these other things, embodying bliss is really the one that creates this incredible vortex within the body. Now we're entering into the quantum mechanics of the physical body. Because when we come into this blissful state, and it's not just bliss, it's a state of bliss that is a product of neutrality. It's a space of nothingness that allows you to fill that nothingness with an incredible presence of yourself. And that is actually the moment that you have entered that God creator self. And when we enter that space and hold that space throughout our entire day and night when we're traveling on other realms, we're beginning to really enter into the levels of creation that transcend just the physical. Now we're working on the higher. And so we can begin to work on our past lives, on our simultaneous lives, on our interdimensional aspects of ourselves. So, our ET aspects, our star seed aspects. Why did we agree to come into these star seed connections? What is our role there? And so just the way we look at our family and heal the relationships with family, we do the same with our galactic family, our intergalactic family. And so this is kind of where we begin to kind of go in to now the quantum mechanics of that creation. And just to end that, once we start clearing those out, the body begins to move in a more centrifugal way. This is where we become this vortex creator self. And we're going to talk about how energy moves in the body, how once you've released the blockages in the body, energy moves through the meridian lines up the spine. And if you sustain that, that grows and grows and grows our light until the moment that we're ready to depart the physical. And that's where you become, again, this creator on another dimensional plane. So letting go of the past and letting go of the future, two really important key elements, because a lot of us tend to take our life stories as absolute truths. And what happens when we do that, even though it is something that we've experienced, we have to remember that it's one of many potential experiences that we're experiencing simultaneously. And this is where your awareness is. So your ability to move through those experiences, taking what's needed and letting go of what's no longer needed, is the key to not getting stuck in the stories of the physical or in the matrix, the illusion of the matrix, the illusion of separation. And quickly, as a human, coming into a creator state, which means that you are now in unity consciousness, not looking at myself and the other, but as one and all. And so accepting the future and accepting the past or the potential past, and working with all of the emotions that cause trauma when we think of either of those, either the past or the future. And that is a really important exercise that we worked on that a little bit yesterday, but working on how the body feels when we think of either of those. If we're still having triggers of emotions of fear and anxiety, then we know we have a lot of work to do there. Okay, so that's something that's good. So releasing guilt and shame would be the next step, because once we start working on those parts, what you'll notice is that a lot of these blockages that you're feeling in those heavy emotions have to do with guilt and shames that we're suppressing, or these heavy emotions of unworthiness. And so again, this kind of goes in alignment with the part where we're kind of reteaching ourselves what it is to be a human. We're literally being the pioneers in understanding what love is, what joy is, because in order to embody that, you have to know what all these emotions are and how you get to them. If you understand the process of how you get to certain emotions, you can understand how to reverse that process and go back to its root, heal that root, support that root. And what you find is that all emotions stem either in fear or love. So the next part of that would be forgiving the self. Okay, so, this is one of the things that a lot of people get stuck in, because when you're growing your light, when you're embodying your higher self, how can you trust what you're seeing, experiencing, sensing on all these other realms when you still haven't let go of the parts of you that doubts itself because of past or potential future experiences? So nurturing the self and forgiving the self in all these processes is fundamental to really embodying a greater light source. And without that process of forgiving the self, and really cradling the ego, letting it know that it's safe in being its true self, its authentic self, without all of those masks that it has to wear in order to navigate these difficult emotions of past and future. This is where you begin to kind of heal the body and come into that expansive self. That's when the true expansive self starts to emerge. And of course, we come into creator self. Okay. So the other one is, once we understand how we're forgiving ourselves, it's about the exchange, looking at our relationships. How are we exchanging with one another? Okay. Are our exchange, do we go into those cyclical patterns where our exchanges are imbalanced with one another? Or are we conscious of what we're contributing and what we're taking from one another? So this is the next level of the human, the new human per se, which is one that is conscious and aware of how it's interacting with all of its peers around it, right? All of its co-creators. And when you reach that level of awareness of yourself, full accountability and genuine connection with the self, what we give and receive becomes something of a very sacred exchange of life force and energy, in which you are very mindful of what you give and what you receive, and it's always very compassionate of yourself and the other. And this is important, and it's a key part of the laws of creation of the universe, which involves free will. That is what free will is all about. If you are this conscious creator, you then also are being mindful of the other and knowing intuitively when to give or when to take in order to experience the greatest growth for yourself and the other. Of course, the other is a result of your growth, not that you are enforcing any growth on any other being. So that is kind of falling into the laws of creation. And then of course we go into dream time, how we are dreaming and the work that we're doing in the astral plane. When we enter into the astral plane and we are leaving the body, there's another set of laws per se that we have to abide by, and that is a level of awareness that has to be trained first in the physical. Okay, and once it's trained in the physical, you are training the parts of the brain that are mechanically co-creating what you're experiencing in the non-physical. So keep in mind, if you don't clear out the blockages, if you don't change yourself from karmic cyclical behavior vibrational frequency into high vibrational frequency through your daytime, everything that you're co-creating in dream and lucid dreams is going to be a match to the physical, because that's your exit portal. If your exit portal is full of dirt and junk and debris, your journey is not going to be very good. It's going to be a bumpy journey. It's going to be an incomplete journey. You might run out of gas. It's not a complete conscious experience. But if your portal, your exit portal, which is your body, is clear and high vibrational, you're going to be not only in resonance with higher vibrational manifestations of consciousness, but you're going to be working on those elevated levels. And so when we have a lot of people that are experiencing really traumatic experiences in the altar realms, such as contact that is very violating of our boundaries, or within the military, we are aligning to that vibrational frequency. And of course, for all of us that journey on this earthly body, it is necessary for us to, if we want to, if we sign up for that, to become aware of what that's all about at some point, just to understand the laws of exchanges and what we're doing, and to end those contractual agreements with those. So there's definitely a lot of amazing work to be done, and we will be addressing all of those things in the next couple weeks in our work here in this meditation. So let me come over here to our chat really quick just to see if I have any questions. And I do have a couple questions that I put aside that somebody was asking. So hello, Luana. Hello, Maribon. Hello, Divine Love. So good to see you here. Maribon says, I'm still trying to see my real higher self and can't get an image. Okay, awesome. So, and we're more than just an image. Remember that the way that we perceive things through the human mind is very limited. So in fact, you are the universe. We are mini universes. Everything that is occurring here in the cosmos of the human body is occurring and expressing in the multiverse. So the more you process that thought that you are really the universe, it's within you, you begin to understand that there is no defined form. You are infinite consciousness, and the ability to hold on to that idea that you are nothing and everything at the same time will really help you in processing through all of these shifts and changes. So happy you're here, Divine Love and Maribon. Luana, thank you so much. Endies, hello, your energy field increased, meditation unlocking something for me, amazing. Yes, so happy to hear that. Hey, Divine Energy. Miss Scarlett, hi Geraldine, sending love and light to you. You're amazing. Thank you for all the amazing teachings and wisdom you share. You are greatly appreciated. Thank you so much, Miss Scarlett. I appreciate that you're here. Bianca, what do you do if you encounter not so pleasant entities in the astral realm? So as I was just mentioning, Bianca, and that's a really, really great question, we have to change our frequency. And in one of my previous classes here on YouTube, I talked about our crown chakra, the 7th and 8th chakra. Now, the 7th and 8th is kind of like your radio dial, okay? So whatever radio station you're tuned in at the 7th and 8th level is basically the radio station that is being informed by all that you are and all that you're holding within your holographic system. So let's say that you come from a very traumatic background and you've had a lot of difficult things, and there's a lot of involvement in your bloodline lineage with government and with beings of lower vibrational level. This is something, again, we're not separate from this, and we don't come into this activity just by chance. This is encoded in our DNA, and we most likely, as a starseed, as a soul, come into that lineage to address any unfinished business with those aspects of ourselves for that reason. So you literally come into this family who has been experiencing that for many generations with the unpleasant beings for a long time, and we have contractual agreements. Contractual agreements are simply agreements to experience, and they are mutual. They are from the bad side and from our side as well, right? Or either way, there is no good or bad. It's just cause and effect. But we agree to meet as two consciousness to experience this shared experience. So what does that mean? That means that we are in resonance, way more complex than just you individually. Your entire lineage is in resonance with that experience. So the work that we have to do is to deprogram the limiting beliefs that continue to keep us in that resonance. Okay, and it can be fears that run down the family, let's say, of not being, not trusting our intuition, not being good enough, or ideas that you are not able to manifest or to use your intuitive and magic powers in this physical realm. Maybe somebody abused those energies in another lifetime, or was ashamed or burned at the stake for them, and so now that runs generationally, causing a deep collective trauma of rejection of your own consciousness, because we feared that consciousness. We created a trauma that made us fear that. So we have to reverse that. And so all of that can be reintegrated and shed. And that kind of healing to do in yourself changes the vibrational frequency from the 7th and 8th, and you are no longer in resonance to any of these lower vibrational beings. So you can really begin to ascend and move through that. And I speak not just from personal experience and having done this myself, but working with hundreds of people that also have experienced this in hypnotherapy, that are, dealing with draconian consciousness, reptilian consciousness, military, my lab experiences. A lot of these beings, they are trapped in that mindset. But once you begin to understand your power in your co-creation, you can shift. It's a matter of changing vibrational frequency. And I will go through that. We will talk about that. I'll add that to my list of things. I have done a video on this before, but when we change that, and we can do that in meditation, you immediately change your frequency just by changing the color, because color is information. So if right now we are in survival mode and it's red, if you see blue in your meditation, put blue in that space. Check it out, try it out, see how it feels. Change the way you experience something. Thank you for that. So let me go to the next one. What if you come into a family but feel so disconnected from them, right? So this is what happens a lot, right? Noni XO, thank you for that question. So, and this is actually what's really happening now, right? So we know about waves of children, waves of consciousness, waves of mankind that are activated and elevated in their DNA. When we talk about star seeds and star children, crystal children, rainbow, indigo, so on and so forth, all of these children that we are as well, these are waves of activation of genetic code. Okay, and each generation that comes in has more of that genetic code activated, because it has to match the movement of the collective, and the collective is always moving forward. There's always collective evolution. So each generation that comes in pulls forward the collective consciousness. So you, my love, are a consciousness that has come into this lineage with a lot of traumatic aspects and rejection of consciousness for centuries. So you're not coming into something new, and you have cycled in that lineage for a long time. The thing is that your most recent incarnation wasn't necessarily connected to that lineage. You were in another higher vibrational state, and then came down, brought your awareness to the fragment that is Noni XO now. Okay, so Noni XO now is living simultaneously, along with her other incredible fragments, this family. And you're coming here to merge the gap in a sense, between the disconnect of the higher self and the physical. So a lot of starseeds come in to do this kind of work. Through our awakening, through our embodiment of the higher self, we raise the collective. You literally are changing the genetic code of your entire ancestral lineage. So my advice when you come into these situations is to do ancestral healing. As much as you can, reintegrate fragments of yourself, of that ancestral aspect. And little by little, it'll begin to shift the relationships that you're experiencing with your family, not in a way that it's going to be like, oh, you guys are all best friends now, but it'll cause you to create a neutrality that brings peace and balance to the relationship, in which it's not codependent, parasitic, or draining of life force. So it's really important to try to do that kind of work, okay? And remember that there is no such thing as disconnect. The fact of the matter is that you mirror a lot of the suffering that is within them, and when they see us, when we recognize our suffering in another, it triggers us, right? It triggers us tremendously. So we come here and we agree to these experiences to really wake up and to shake up that little comfort zone. So thank you for your light and what you're doing, because it's a really big thing that you signed up for, okay? But never be alone. We are one. That's it. Thank you so much, Angie, Anita, thank you. Divine Energy, Geraldine, since a child, I've had memories being in a spaceship and seeing people in glass-type beds. I now know these are called pods. I've also had memories of being part of a team on planets. Absolutely, Divine Energy, yes. How do I know if I was part of a space program? Well, I think you answer the question in itself, And this is the thing that in my support group, I'm having one Friday, if anybody would like to join the support group that has had these kinds of experiences. It's a really good place to kind of connect with other experiencers because they all start out the same, right? They have these very, very specific and detailed, just like you're saying, their specific memories of being in spacecrafts with specific technology, specific beings. You can, in detail, mostly remember what had happened there. And that really speaks to a memory of yourself that you're tuning into. And those of you that are unlocking layers of yourself and activating your DNA are tuning into that information. So you can tap into that information in order to understand what your role is in that alter plane. How did you agree to that experience? What is the purpose of that experience? And a lot of times these experiences help us understand, form a very clear foundation of what the human is. The power of the human, the value of the human, the incredible potential for creation that this multidimensional being has. So each experience that you have will tell you a little bit about the things that are happening on alter planes. A lot of us are part of these programs without knowing, without being conscious that we are. And it isn't until we start doing meditation work, healing work, that we begin to recall a lot of these very strange memories that begin to inform us on the activity that we're having in the astral plane or in the physical in these night hours, the hours that we are disconnected from our awareness. And this is why becoming aware in the daytime and bringing that into dream time is important, because if you are not conscious in waking time, you take on entities, you end up drained, all this stuff. Imagine what's happening in dream time when you are sleeping and you're not conscious at that level. All kinds of things can happen. You can be traveling to different planets, you can be doing things, and sometimes you can be engaging in things that you may not necessarily understand what you're engaging in because you're not conscious. So we are here for two reasons: to understand how we are a collective consciousness and an organism that is interconnected, and two, to wake up on infinite levels. So that work has to be carried out at all times. Thank you for that question. Man from Daytona says, I encounter time shifts, time glitches, reality glitches, mandala effect, etc. I have no understanding of why this happens. Very interesting. So it's kind of the same thing, my dear friend. One of the things that is really happening is that you are merging timelines. And I've had this experience many times in my life when I had missing time as well, and when I had these kinds of shifts and glitches where it's like you think you experienced something, but when you go back in your memory, you can't quite place where that happened, or missing time. And what's happening is that this is kind of showing us our level of awareness, number one, and this is why being in the body, connecting to the five senses at all times, grounded, GPAC, ground, protect, align, co-create, is important for your well-being, mentally, psychologically, energetically, and as a creator. Because when we're not conscious, oftentimes we're travelers, we're astronauts, right? So we leave the body and we can enter into another time space, into a timeline that is merging with this timeline. And we experience all kinds of things, but because we're so much in hypnosis, it just becomes another layer of unconscious activity. And when we come back into the body from that hypnosis, we're like, whoa, what just happened? And we have these missing times, missing experiences. So my suggestion is to take yourself into hypnosis or work in hypnotherapy to kind of go back and figure out, what happened there, at least to take a look at yourself in that moment and to understand, what's glitching there, because it'll tell you a lot about your simultaneous lives and what your mission is here, because there's a direct link between those things. It talks about your star seeds, your ET aspects of yourselves, multidimensional bodies. Kayla Mariel says, if you have time, could you discuss the draconian lineages? I've encountered these influences when doing astral work, and I'm wondering about the more potential beneficial factors, purpose, etc. Okay, that's a huge topic, my love. And, maybe I'll make an entire video on that, because that's a really, really, it's a hairy topic. But it is an important thing to understand. What I will say now is the draconian lineage is a descendant of the archons, okay? And when the very origin of separation occurred from the source, this consciousness that rejects its own consciousness now manifests into different life forms. And those levels of life forms descend from the most primal into the most highest vibrational expression. And so we're here kind of experiencing the most primal, primitive aspects of consciousness into the highest. Okay, so we embody that lineage. That draconian lineage is actually in our genetic code. From that draconian came many other races that descend from there. Okay, including the reptilians. The reptilians are the closest cousins to them, but many of the other races also descend from there, even the ones that we perceive as high vibration by our names that we apply to them. Okay, we are simply talking about, let's say, archetypes or ranges of consciousness, and we have applied names to them, but those may not be their names. There may be infinite races that we are sharing time with, okay? So let's say all of these consciousness now produced humankind. And human, within our genetic code, we actually have many strands of genetic code that we're not aware of, that within that genetic code is encoded the draconian lineage. We embody the reptilian brain, which manages the analytical mind and also the primal mind. So that in the design of our biology is manifested our relationship and, I guess, the evolution, the biological evolution from those races. So when we encounter draconian consciousness, we are entering into the awareness that there is this primitive aspect, parasitic aspect per se of consciousness. And so it's a part of us. It's a reflection of us. Okay. I'm going to go, there's so much more to this. I mean, we can talk about, the draconians that have come to Earth and how that lineage has really affected our human race in its creation. And descendants of that lineage are the ones that, because of their primal mastery, are the ones that build many matrices and all of these compartmentalized realities in which we live in. So I will leave it there, but we will talk some more about that. I'm going to save your question, Caleb, and please do remind me if you would like to. Thank you so much. Cass Adams, this is my goal with the 30-day challenge to really understand my purpose on this timeline. Awesome. Thank you so much to be part in this ascension. I just feel so stuck or crazy sometimes. I completely understand, Cass. That's exactly why I'm doing it. Andrew says, what if you remember fragments of being on ships, attachments, and attacks? How do we keep ourselves clear all the time? Okay, and I think I kind of just touched on that right now, which is in regards to your frequency. It's all about resonance, okay? So if you're someone that's in survival mode and doubting your own power to be empowered and to have free will, you will manifest those kinds of experiences that magnify that doubt, that magnify that fear. So it's important to shift from that as much as possible. Okay. Mantra Daytona says, thank you, Geraldine. That makes sense. Awesome. And Angie, we're going to work on that more. So do stick around to the 30 days. We're going to address that later on. One Love says, I had an experience that I was on a ship and the beings were talking about my blood type, and then left the ship and fell back into my body just in time to get up from work. I had so much energy that day. Okay, so you definitely experienced some kind of upgrade, and I hear these experiences all the time where there is discussion about the blood type and the lineage, and I know this to be true in my experiences and my research with my clients as well, that we definitely, our blood type says something about the kind of contact that we're going to experience in this lifetime. It says whether you're going to recall your experience and whether your experience as a human, it dictates the kind of experience you have as a human. So whether you're going to experience more suffering physically or illnesses, all of that really does depend on the blood type. But when we're talking about hybridization or these greater big programs, it really plays a role in how you're going to remember what you experienced. And I think I'll do a video on that because it is a complex topic and there's many parts to it. There's our genetic code, there's the starseed lineages that we hold presently now, and then there is the fragments parts of us that are currently living out the experiences that we are referencing in this lifetime. So we have to be aware of those exchanges, okay? So Catherine, so good to see you. So Catherine says, should I stop focusing on my food and water storage? I'm ready to be shut out of store for not being vaxxed. Oh no, so sorry to hear that. Catherine, okay, so I think, and I will tell you what I've tuned into collectively, that we are definitely getting ready to experience more shifts collectively. So I always feel that follow your intuition in terms if you feel that you need to store something just to be self-sustaining. I think that that's kind of where we want to head anyway, okay? So what do you need to do in order to be self-sustaining? It could be storing, or it could be moving to a place where we have abundance of those resources, the natural resources that will help us in times of crisis. But more importantly, remember that you're co-creating, and we're all co-creating. Right now, because there's so much confusion in the world, there's a lot of tension. And the entire organism of the earth, the body, the earth, and the universe is really, really high intensity. We see how the sun is moving so intensely. We see how the planets are shifting and causing major energies. And the lesson is that we're cleaning out fears. So we need to train ourselves to come into a state of neutrality, to have direct connection with intuition. And a lot of people are going to be moving in these next couple months. We're going to be relocating. We're going to be finding where we need to be. We're going to be connecting with the tribes or the people that we need to work with in resonance to hold space for this organism, the self and the whole. Unity consciousness is next. So it's not really so much about focusing on those things, but it is about training your intuition to follow that guidance to what it's telling you. Okay, so just listen to what that information is telling you. Summerwind said, are you still in touch with the grays in a regular way? Do they guide you in where to go, how to adjust frequency, or is this based on those experiences? So the grays were my very first conscious physical experience, and there's many kinds of grays. I want to remind you that there are grays that are part of different agendas, from draconians up to, you know, high vibrational beings. There are many different kinds, tall, short, many different kinds. Okay, so to say grays, there's grays all the time, and I have come encountered with them in different scenarios, but I think that the scenarios now are definitely more intentional. So I truly at this point understand what my role is here on earth, but also what I've been doing and am doing in those alternate planes. And so this is the invitation to you that are experiencing, is to become clear about what you're doing. Okay. And my understanding of frequency is something that is a part of all of us. It's information that we have encoded in our DNA, because we are that energy, we are that frequency. So it's really not something that is imparted by any other consciousness. It is something that I discovered in my healing work, in my activation of my own DNA, the profound understanding. When I had the abduction and it activated the psychic abilities, I could see that in its full function in someone's body and in my own. So it kind of helped me link, you know, the missing pieces that I hadn't quite processed from that. And it helped me have a very profoundly detailed view on how energy moves through the body, and that we are nothing but that energy. So that being said, it kind of pulled me away from investing or giving away my power to an external source of information and consciousness, whether that's ETs, angelic beings, high vibration beings, to a more integrated self, that I am the creator and source of information. And I really prove that to myself over and over again, you know, by trusting my intuition. And I think a lot of you guys do too. So I definitely invite you to do that. D. Elizabeth says, the number 32 is always everywhere for me, and I see it constantly. Do you know what is the connection could be? I feel like it might be a message. That's very interesting. I'm not sure, but I definitely, you know, numbers are full of power and vibrational frequency, but 32 might be something important for you. I work with a numerologist sometimes named Michael Bispiglia. He's amazing. I'll put his information below. You can check him out. I definitely invite you to see him and see if he, you know, has some information for you. Okay, so I really want to keep answering questions, but we also have to get to our meditation. So let me come back to those questions at the end, and let's get into our healing work, okay? Thank you for your questions. I really love answering your questions. It really takes us to where we need to go, doesn't it? So today we're going to be working on going deeper into releasing these blockages in the multidimensional body, but also in understanding what we are, who we are, seeing ourselves without the masks, and accepting what we're seeing at that very profound level. So I want you to get really nice and comfortable. Breathing deeply. Okay, you're going to ground down to the center of the earth. Go ahead and visualize a protective field all around you, becoming aware of your space. Okay, and we're going to move a little quickly here. You're going to create a field of energy around you that protects you, that is completely aware of itself, of your body, in this space. Owning everything that is inside that field. You're going to ground down to the center of the earth, so go ahead and ground. Bring your body fully in this body, calling all aspects of ourselves that might be above or floating or not wanting to feel or fearful of feeling, bring them into the body. Go ahead and invite them into the body. And this is the first step of our practice today, which is full acceptance of ourselves in this moment without resistance. And some days this might be more difficult than others because of the galactic energies in the world, in the universe. But with every breath we take, we become masters of this body, sitting in that stillness and just allowing the sounds around us to be, the sensations in the body, the thoughts that enter the mind. Allowing all of it to just be. Sitting in that stillness for a moment, noticing any part of the body now that is tense or that feels resistance or anxiety to be still. And I want you to take all your attention to those parts of the body and just sit with them in stillness. And you're going to notice that sometimes if you've been moving it around or if it feels intense in that place, you're going to hold that intensity and almost like water, it begins to dissolve, it begins to leave from that space. So just allow that. And at first it's going to feel you're going to feel resistance. You're going to feel like maybe you will be unsafe if you let that go. But allow yourself to completely release whatever it is that you're storing energetically in that space. It's blocked energy. And this might be actually quite subtle for you, so just pay attention. We are training ourselves to become aware of this body. We are remembering the self. So remember the feet, remember the legs, remember the hips, the solar plexus. Releasing more and more any tension in the solar plexus, any tightness. Allowing more air to enter the body, going up into the chest, into the lungs, the shoulders, the arms, going up into the neck, into the face. Releasing the brow, the cheekbones, and the jaw. And bringing yourself in complete stillness. Taking the attention to the breath as you begin to very mindfully feel the breath entering the body and exiting the body now. And if you've had a very stressing day, this stillness feels really compassionate for yourself. So enjoy that stillness. So what I want you to do is I want you to begin to kind of imagine that you're kind of floating out of the body for a moment, and you're going to sit in a chair right in front of yourself. Go ahead and look at yourself in your chair as you look back at yourself in meditation. Look at yourself in meditation. And as you look at yourself, Is this a third person perspective, looking down at yourself or in front at yourself? Notice what part of your body are you holding on to tension without being aware of it. Go ahead and notice where in the body. And see if you can see any kind of stagnant energy or maybe heavy colors in that space, or it feels warmer in that part of the body. You're now looking at yourself from outside. You're looking at yourself like a third person perspective. What's going on with you today? Look at yourself. What have you gone through today? I want you to quickly scan through your day at the things that you've experienced today, and notice if anything stressing or traumatic or, happened today or triggered those emotions. Where in the body is that information being stored? Just notice, observe. A lot of empaths may find that they're storing a lot. They took on a lot from many people today. So go ahead and visualize that you're going to release everything that you took on from your surroundings, people, places, and things. Breathing deeply. And you're going to visualize underneath you, underneath your body. See yourself meditating. You're going to visualize or imagine, create a vortex underneath your body that you're watching meditate. And this vortex underneath you is going to be made out of a light that is utilized, any color that you see, that will neutralize any of this heavy energy that's in your body that you're releasing. So see that vortex underneath your body as you're watching yourself meditate, and go ahead and with your hand you can imagine pulling out of your own body any little spots of dark energies or emotions that are there and sending it down to that vortex. Clear your body of all that you are discovering as you observe yourself. Notice, you're going to see a lot, and this is your intuitive abilities. Look how powerful you are to be able to see what you're seeing right now. You either see it, you know it, you sense it, or you feel it in your body. Whatever way that you translate information, trust what you see, what you experience. Okay, and as you remove things more and more from your space, you begin to see that your light becomes lighter. You also feel less buzzy or less of that static energy. Now it's more calm. So you have literally changed your vibrational frequency just with that simple practice. We're going to go deeper. As you see yourself in this practice, I want you to see, we're going to ask now to be shown our true form. Everything that we are as a result of our life, as a result of our spiritual work, as a result of our suffering, go ahead and let it manifest before you, right next to your meditating self. Go ahead and take a look at that. What does it look like? Look at yourself, the self that has experienced all the things it's experienced in its life, highs and lows. What has that resulted in? Take a look at that self. What does it look like? And as you observe what you see, don't be alarmed if you see something you didn't expect to see. Don't be alarmed if you see something that doesn't look like you. Without judgment, observe what you watch. Observe what you see. And as you see this part of yourself, I want you to tune into it. And you are going to telepathically begin to gain information telling you why it looks the way that it looks right now. Go ahead. Tune in to why does it look the way it looks right now? Allow it to give you the information that you need. Is it shining bright like a big star or angelic being, or is it down and flat, or distorted, or weak? Let it give you the information you need. Now, you probably have received some key words from what you're observing that will help you understand what you are, what your self is experiencing. I want you to surround that self in a golden sphere of light. And I want you to give this true self a moment to understand why it got there, how it got there. Why did it end up in this place? Either it's super bright or super dim. How did it end up? Why? And I want you to notice, how much participation did you have in ending up this way? What is your participation in co-creating this manifestation of yourself? Okay. For some people, they might be tuning into things that are hard to look at and accept. So if you are one of those people, I want you to not judge what comes up. And remember that there is no right and wrong. There is only cause and effect. And so as we observe this, we are just neutrally observing the things that have caused this effect from others and from ourselves. Just simply looking at that. I want you to change the scenario now that you know how you ended up there, why you ended up there. And I want you to shift. If you are in a high vibrational state, what is it that you need in order to integrate that fully in the body? What do you need in order to integrate that fully in the body? To carry that into your everyday life. Now, if you look like a pancake energetically, or you look like you have a lot of holes, or you're dim, what is it that you need in order to change that pattern and grow that light back into its original form? So I want you to surround it in a golden sphere of light, and you're going to give it everything that it requires in order to either grow back into its true original form. Go ahead and give it that. The question is, who are you without these limiting beliefs? What is true? Ask yourself. Are those things true about you? just notice what it needs. Does it need more love? Does it need more support? Does it need truth? Does it need to be less fearful? Does it need to accept? Give it all that it requires and watch its transformation. Okay. Watch its transformation. You're going to eliminate down to that vortex once again all of those heavy thought forms out of these beautiful parts of us. As we neutralize that heaviness and allow that vibration to shift to the highest level. And as you watch yourself changing, shifting, you're going to begin to feel a powerful sensation in the heart center. And this is what it means to love unconditionally. So that transmutation that you did to your fragment is what you're doing to your body. So I want you to expand the heart center and really allow yourself to feel those sensations, those loving, compassionate sensations that you tap into as you do this healing. Because that will heal the body, change the frequency, and create a new home for this true self of us that we are seeing. Notice any parts of this fragment that still feels resentment or rejection towards this self. And I want you to forgive that part of you and make it feel safe. Make it feel safe. Everything that you need for it to feel safe. Very good. So as you begin to see now your true self transformed, maybe it's even bigger than it was before, maybe its color has changed, maybe now it has wings, maybe now it's something different, maybe it's whatever it is that you see. This is your true form. Okay? And what you're seeing here is, it's kind of like your starseed expression. Okay, so whatever it is that you see there, it's telling you a little bit about what your prominent genetic code is expressing in this lifetime. And it tells you a lot about the experiences that you're having in this life and the challenges that are, continuing in this lineage. So now that you see your healed form, you're going to bring it back into the one that is meditating. As you're seeing in front of you, yourself is still meditating. Take a deep breath and allow it to integrate into the meditative state. Notice how when you do that, it lights up. Okay? I want you to see yourself that's observing. I want you to see your cord of light that connects up to source. And you're going to merge in with your meditative self. Okay? As all these fragments have reintegrated with the self, you're going to feel more grounded in your body. I want you to visualize the cord of white light that goes through the crown of the head, down the spine, down the perineum, anchoring in the center core of the earth, connecting up to source. And I want you to channel through that source pure white light that kind of flows like a waterfall, cleansing and integrating the body into this healing, integrating. So just imagine that you are under a waterfall of white light, and it's really powerful waterfall that you literally feel the water hit the body in a way that it massages this organism, reintegrating. 7 bodies in, 7 bodies out, all charges down to negative, infinite. Go ahead and visualize that anchoring down to the core of the planet as we allow the earth to heal through us, because it is us. The earth heals. All of our ancestors on this earth become aware of this healing. I want you to see in front of you a crowd of all people, places, and things that we've come in contact with that have caused challenges in this day. And you're going to cut cords with them on their end, and I want you to pull those cords out of the body, creating even more flow. Even more flow. Let's go ahead and cut cords, and neutralize the cords that you have with any intimate relationships. cutting cords, pulling out negative information or that we're throwing back and forth at each other, neutralizing those relationships, inhaling, taking back your life force into the body, and releasing. Very good. So right now, your field is glowing powerfully. I want you to ground yourself. Okay, you're going to just balance your root chakra, balance the sacral, balance the solar, breathing deeply, anchoring that white light into each one of these chakras, balancing the heart, balancing the throat, balancing the third eye. And you're going to activate the seventh and eighth. Go ahead and fill it in with your creative color. The first color that comes up, that's your highest vibrational frequency, fill that in. You're going to activate the ninth chakra, activate the 10th, activate the 11th, the 12th, the 13th, and you close the loop connecting up to source. So now you have your runway of energy moving through your body very clearly, very clean, crystalline energy that you are emitting now. Okay? Very good. You guys did incredible. I want to thank you so much for joining me today in this healing. And let me take a look at any last questions. Let's take a look at this. D. Elizabeth says, my cat is so intelligent, makes me laugh. He acts like a human. He has a soul. What connection could we have with our animals besides this lifetime? Who could they be? Animals are an entire topic to itself because our pets are an extension of ourselves. They are a fragment of ourselves. And a lot of times they are spiritual support. They support us on other dimensional planes. Any work that we are not doing in this lifetime, a lot of times our pets absorb vibrational frequency, and a lot of times they heal us from wounds and illnesses that we make agreements with these pets in order to not experience it in our body, but a lot of times the pets take them. So it's very interesting, the relationship and the exchange that occurs with our pets. So if you notice that your pet is a very bright, brilliant star, that's it's your support. It allows us to come into unconditional love, and it's one of our greatest trainers in making us quickly come into that state. You want to stay in that state all the time. They are our masters of teaching us unconditional love. So if we can tune into that feeling that we feel with them at all times, we will avoid any kind of illnesses and imbalances in the body. Marcelo MC, do you know something about the death traps making Earth a prison planet, preventing souls from leaving the planet? Yes, I do, tremendously. And this is really what we're talking about, the karmic cyclical reincarnation cycle, which is a very complex system that we agree to enter when we enter into the three-dimensional plane. The three-dimensional plane is meant for us to experience the physical, but if we get too caught up in the physical, we can create fragmentations that almost like we create within us and around us a web that keeps us further and further ingrained into the three-dimensional plane. And so you end up creating many fragments of yourself that are now linked and connect to the three-dimensional plane, making it harder and harder for you to vibrationally reintegrate and move out into another experience, potential experience. So this is where integration of your fragments in this and all lifetimes plays a role, because if you have millions of fragments here in the three-dimensional plane, probably you're going to keep coming back, right? And so that's why ancestral work is important, because our work is not just alone. We are interconnected to a network of consciousness, which is our ancestral lineage, our DNA, our entire lineage. We are one with them and with all, you and I. So our work is not just individual. we are mirrored. We come together, we mirror one another. So there's a lot of work that has to be done in the physical and in the dream time, because that's when we're mostly working on these other levels. So consciousness and the awakening is the key to a successful death, right? Which means that you're creating this cyclical centrifugal energy in the body at the time of death. That speed and the movement of that vibrational frequency will define what you experience next. If at the time of death you are fearful and you are full of blockages and heavy fragmentations throughout your life, you definitely will not be able to be a match to that white light that sends us into another dimensional plane. Fragments will keep you here and you will reincarnate over and over again. So this is where free will takes a very important part, in that, do we have free will? Yes, we do, but only when we know that we do. And the moment that we do, we begin to live like we do. Okay, so that really changes kind of everything, and everything is in your hands. There is parasitic consciousness, but that can only work when you're unconscious and when you forego your free will. So that's a little bit on that. I will touch more of that on another video. Thank you for that question. All right, my love. So Rose believes says capturing detailed spacecrafts and aliens in water photography when I ask questions for answers. Oh, interesting. So you're seeing some ETs in there. Hello, Joe. Okay. Okay, let's go to Joe says, why does it feel like my thoughts are loud and others can hear my thoughts when I'm in meditative state? Well, that's a good question. But in reality, thoughts is a vibrational frequency. So people that are empathic will be able to tune in to the things that you're feeling and sensing if you have no self-awareness. If you have no self-awareness, your thoughts are going to be very loud because you are vibrating your thoughts. And a lot of times those thoughts are mechanical. So you're not even aware of your body, and your body responds in that way. That's why we can pick up on body language. That's why we can understand what people are feeling and thinking just by looking at them. Those are embodiments of thoughts, lack of conscious awareness. So that's an interesting thing. Lisa Davey, I have a numbness in my left hand, and I thank you so much for this. I just lost my dog. She took in so much after the toxic abuse situation. She took it all. Oh my God, thank you so much for this healing. Yeah, Lisa, thank you for being here. And I understand what you're experiencing with your dog, but I have dealt with healings that I've done on the person and then affected the dog, or even vice versa, healings on the dog and it affected the person. So we have a really direct connection between pets and ourselves. Geraldine, you are so right about animals and pets. Definitely, thank you so much. Is it just in my head? No, it's not just in your head. Catherine says, I am a light angel named Michael. My kidneys were black because I am processing the blood pain of humanity. Other light angels thank me. Then I cried. Wow, Catherine, that's amazing. Thank you for the work that you're doing. A lot of us are, of course, interconnected. That's a perfect example of how we're interconnected to the collective. And when we do healing, we affect the whole. So thank you for that. Divine Love says, amazing. Thank you. Thank you. Joe, the question about the theory, where is that? On REM, that's a big one. I'd love to address that one in another video. Okay, thank you for that. Anita says, perfect, huge white light column, waterfalls, torrents of light. Amazing, love that so much. I would really love to hear, you guys, what did your self look like? I want you to tell me what you saw. What did your true self look like? Did you look like a giant bright light? Or did you look like a pancake? I want you to put it in the message down below and tell me what you discovered, what you saw, if you do feel so like sharing. And it'll help other people kind of trust also what they see. I want to thank you for joining me here today. You guys are so amazing. All my love to you. Thank you, light workers, and I will see you tomorrow. See you soon. Bye-bye.